Here with Jeff and Julie Puryear, and they are coming off an incredible victory at the 2024 Texas Thoroughbred Association Oaks Stakes with their lightning fast filly, Miss Code West. Miss Code West is an Oklahoma bred by Code West. As a graduate of the 2022 TTA yearling sale, this qualified Miss Code West for the Oaks. Jeff, can you talk about the yearling sale and your purchase of Miss Code West?
Well, I went out to the sale with the idea of buying 2 Oklahoma bred horses. I didn't necessarily fillies, and early in the sale I bought one. She became a workmate for Miss Code West. And early in Lone Star last year, we ran her for a tag. She ran second and got claimed. So she didn't stay around very long, but she probably belonged in someone else's barn. And then Miss Code West, later in the day, she came through the sale. I had gone out to the barn and seen her in the barn because there weren't very many Oklahoma breds in the sale. But I went out to the barn, looked at her. She's a very impressive individual, or at least she was to me. And I think there were some other, apparently nobody else thought she was as pretty as I thought she was. So I got her when she come through the ring. I was standing behind the sale ring when she came through the ring, and I looked her in there, and I felt I'd have gone for a lot higher if she'd have went higher, because she's a grand looking filly. The rest of the story is history.
Yes, it is history, and really good history. Is it okay? You purchased Miss Code West for $12,000 as a yearling at the TTA sale that you just mentioned. Her 2-year-old campaign, she won all 4 of her races at Remington Park.
Yeah.
She's had 6 career starts, won 5 out of 6. That includes 3 stakes races at Remington Park, and of course, the TTA Oaks. So that was a good investment, your $12,000. Miss Code West, over $200,000 in career earnings. And from what you told me, she's just getting started.
I don't think she's figured out what's going on yet. She's, when I talked to the trainer by the barn after the race, he said, you know, she ran the race, won, went to the test barn, went back when she come back to the barn, she's kind of looking around and says, well, when are we going to do something? She kind of got tested when we took her down to New Orleans, but I noticed that one of the fillies that finished behind her just this past weekend ran 4th in the Louisiana Oaks, 200, big race. I know it's $400,000, I think, was the purse on it. So she was running against nice horses down there.
Kevin Scholl's your trainer, and I don't know if y'all decided yet what's next for Miss Code West, but do you have an idea of where she might go?
We kind of tentatively settled. I don't think Kevin's necessarily happy about it, but around the end of April, there's an allowance race. It's 3 and up fillies, fillies and mares, and going a mile on the grass. And I was looking at it as a prep for about a month after that, there's a stakes race, a mile on the turf, and using that race as a test to see if she can handle the turf, and then run against the big girls in that stake a month later.
Great. Julie, tell us how you and Jeff got into becoming racehorse owners, and how has the experience been for the 2 of you?
Well, we got our first one in, I think, 1972. And then we were out of it for, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. And we went back into it. And it was, Jeffrey went to the sale. I didn't go. So, but we've done well.
He'll go to a sale and you don't know what he's going to come home with,
Well,
right?
He has his instructions.
There's a story there, a little story. Do you have time for a little story?
Sure.
She sent me, I think it was the first yearling sale I went to when we got back in it, and she sent me to buy a gray filly. She likes gray horses. So But I come home with a bay colt. And her first reaction when she looked at it was to call it wrong sex, wrong color. But I determined that there's probably too many letters. So I give her all the information, the pedigree and so forth, to come up with another name. And she came up with a list of names, and finally when I asked her if she had everything she wanted on the list, she said yes. So I picked up the information, the pile of papers, and there's a little piece of paper floated down to the floor. So I reached down and picked it up, and on it said Grammy's boy. And so that
Grammy.
so she's
To the
Grammy, so he became Grammy's boy, and he ran a second and a third in those 3-year-old races that they run at Houston early in the year. He ran the second and a third, and he's won several races. And he's since got claimed from us, but he won a couple of races for us, and he's still running.
I know Grammy's boy. Bet on him many times.
Have you? Okay. If he could, the last few times he's been able to stay down on the inside rail rather than the outside rail.
Y'all actually bought your first horse in the 70s, but I noticed you really didn't ramp up until 2020. You had 14 starts, and then you began a steady rise, which included 100 starts last year, where you won $450,000. Obviously, you're all in now, and are you all looking to expand your stable?
Well, we've got 3 brood mares up at Valor Farm, and we've got 3 babies on the ground this year. So I don't know how better to answer that question.
How many total horses now do you have on track?
We've got 10 at Lone Star. Well, 9 or 10. We did have a horse at Benchmark who was galloping in it, but I think he's in Houston now, or she's in Houston now, and the brood mares. That's what we've got right now.
Besides Sam Houston, Lone Star Park, and Remington Park, where else do you all race?
Well, the only race we've run other than those 3 places is when we took Miss Gold West down to the fairgrounds in New Orleans. That's the only place we run, and we don't have any intention really of, as I said to Kevin the other morning, it's always easier to run on your home court, and so those are our home courts.
Jeff and Julie Puryear, thank you for being loyal supporters of Texas racing, and remember, the next horse that goes through the TTA sales arena could be a track star like Miss Code West. The colorful Jim Stodola is back in the Texas horse racing spotlight. Jim is the winning owner of the 2024 Texas Thoroughbred Association Derby with his fantastic colt, Victory for Vets. Victory for Vets is a Texas-bred colt by Tapiture, and he's trained by Brett Calhoun.
And Victory for Vets win the TTA Derby.
Jim, tell us about Victory for Vets.
Well, I bought him as a 2-year-old at the Lone Star sales for $70,000. I've got a fantastic trainer, Brett Calhoun. He gives me a choice of about 3 or 4 horses, and then we get together to pick out one great one. And he came in 3rd in the Futurity, came in 2nd in the Groovy Stakes, but now this last race down in Houston, the big $100,000 Derby, he came in 1st, and he led by 4 3/4 lengths. He was in about 2 seconds of the track all-time record for that length. And guess what? We beat 4 Kentucky horses too.
Jim, you are partial to owning and racing Texas-breds, and this was not your first victory in a Texas-bred stake race, correct?
No, but to answer your first statement there, I will always show my loyalty to Texas-bred horses. And as I just mentioned, we beat a bunch of Kentucky horses. Yeah, so it's not my first one. There was my first horse course, Victory for Vets is only my second horse. Vietnam Victory was my first horse. He's now a 4-year-old, and I believe I bought him as a yearling. Same process with Brett Calhoun. And how much has he won now? 182,000?
He has almost 200, yes.
Wow, wow. He won the futurity race, $150,000 futurity race for 2-year-olds at Lone Star. And then in 2023, he won the Groovy Stakes down in Houston. And then he was also named as the 2-year-old Colt Gelding of the Year for Texas.
I can remember after Vietnam Victory won the Groovy Stakes, and you were having such great success as a new owner, and not many people knew you, but they knew you pretty quick, and they started referring to you as Mr. Caught a Lightning in the Bottle, Stodola.
Well, let me tell you something. They say lightning never strikes twice, but I'm going to tell you something. We've already got the second lightning strike coming with Victory for Vets now.
The names of your two horses, Victory for Vets and Vietnam Victory, they have a distinct connection. Tell us what the names, how does that resonate with you and why is it important?
Well, Brett, I spent 6 years in the military. I volunteered for Vietnam. When they weren't sending me, I insisted. And I fought in Vietnam. We had a lot of victories there, but I figured we could use some more victories. So I bought a horse, and I called him Vietnam Victory, and he's given us some more victories. And of course, I wanted to keep it along the same lines with Victory for Vets. And I'm really thinking about buying a third Texas-bred horse now. If not at the 2-year-old sale, we'll buy him somewhere maybe out of state, but he'll be a Texas-bred horse. And I've already got a name for him that aligns with these others, but I'm not going to tell you.
Keep us in suspense.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to reinvest your Derby winnings into a new Texas-bred.
I'm going to do that, sir. I am.
That's Jim Stodola, winner of the 2024 Texas Thoroughbred Association Derby with Victory for Vets.